Hello again, it's Elizabeth, and I'm in my art loft. And today, well, first of all, Lee O'Connor has not contacted me about getting her prize from the 200 subscriber giveaway, which was this little booklet that I made. And several other people commented that they'd like me to make one on camera, so that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to start on one at least today. I did add a few extra things since I showed this on the camera. I did add a belly band here, side belly band with a pull-out tag that you can use to journal. And I added, I don't know if this paper clip was in there or not, but I did add this paper clip that I made. I made this from a piece of wire, and I hammered it so that it would get hard, because when you hammer things, it's called work hardening metal. And I put a little key on it, not a key that would fit this lock, of course, because this lock's huge, and this little baby key would fit something else, hopefully. But I made it with two little places you could put a charm of some sort or whatever, and if you didn't put it inside the book, then you could put a lot more stuff dangling from it. But of course I put it inside here, so as you can see, that lock edge is up so that you can put something on it like that. Could possibly even tuck in some kind of little note or something even under that. Let's see, that would hold that. Would stay in there. Ta-da! Doesn't fall out. Anyway, that's what I did. Put that little charm on there, little key. You all saw this other part. The pages, just normal pages that I just had already done. This was already in there. That was already there. That was all there. And then on this page, I put a belly band that was another keys and locks thing, since this is supposed to be slightly steampunk, and I put a big tag in it too. Now I did not put a tag in this envelope here. I didn't put anything in there. I might do that actually. I probably shouldn't I put a little tag in there? Oh well, I'll do that later. But we want to get started making the book. So what we do first is to get 4 envelopes, and in this case I used 4 that were from a set that I got from Hobby Lobby. And I saw this first on YouTube. Well, I had made other envelope books, but I think I made this one because I saw it on, what is her name? Treasure Books on YouTube. So you may check her out and see if you see a difference in what she did and what I did. Well, I know there are a few differences, but I mean, you can look at that and see if you like this one. Okay, just make it this way. Okay, so easy way to make it. I'm going to put all these other envelopes, because envelopes come in all kinds of sizes and shapes. And I have some extra papers here. And they come even with different flap arrangements, because these, I have 4 of this kind, which is the kind I made already. And I have 4 that have a straight flap across. So that would make a little bit different book. But the first thing that we do, we're going to do it with the same ones that I did the original one, and then I might do some of the other ones as well. First thing we do is take 2 of these and glue them together with the flap overlapping the bottom of the other one. So I've got 2 of them face down, call them face down, and I'm going to use my art glitter glue to secure this. Now you could just lick this, but there won't be enough sticky to hold that, so we'll just go ahead and use the art glitter glue to do it. You could use glue stick. I don't know if glue stick would work very well, but you could try it using glue stick. If you get a good coating on there, it would at least work for a while. Okay, that looks great. I'm going to make sure that these go together and are even top to bottom. In other words, what we'll have is a book top to bottom. So we'll just fold those and kind of crunch them, make sure they're crunched, make sure that that's down securely, make sure there's no glue seepage in the inside or anywhere else. So that's your outside piece. And that's this is your front. And this is your back, because we want that to lap over whenever we put it together so that we can have our closure there. Okay, so what we do now is we take 2 other envelopes of the same type. Oops. Oh, I didn't put this one over there with the other guys. Okay. And we open the flaps, but we don't glue them to anything. We just put that there. And we put this one here. Actually, I think it was the other way, but it doesn't really matter. One on top of the other. Just make sure they're lined up top to bottom. And then you're going to make a signature inside that. Let me close up my glue bottle real quick. Don't want that drying out. So I brought over a few of my roll-off pieces. And what I want to do is to measure how wide this envelope is. And it is 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a quarter inches wide. So we'll make our pieces of paper 7 1/4 inches wide. So I selected ones that I thought went together relatively well. That'll be the inside ones, kind of bright. And then that'll be next. And that'll go against that one. And that'll go against that one. Now, I know some of those might be difficult to write on, but that's okay too. And since this paper is 8 1/2, and we said the other one's 7 1/4, then we're going to take off, we could just take off one side, but then all of my colors would be shifted to that edge. So we'll probably take off a little bit on each side, and that way it'll make it kind of, the colors kind of stay in the middle, and I like it better that way. So we'll go ahead and take off this edge first, and we'll take off a 1/2 inch, and that'll make it 8. And then we'll take off 3 3/4. I mean, take off, yeah, 3/4 on. We'll go ahead and take off 3/4 on this edge. That's it. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just lining my paper up with the lines on all 4 of them, because it's not that critical that it's perfect, but I like to get them as even as possible. Lining them up with the line on my cutting board. And then I'm lining my ruler up with the little polka dots on my cutting board, which say that it will be a 1/2 inch there and then another 1/4 inch there, so 3/4 of an inch. And I think my X-Acto's pretty sharp, so we'll just cut down through there. And of course it's not sharp enough to cut all 4 at once. So I just make a couple of passes. Everybody done? I could have torn that, and I would have gotten a nice little you know, deckled edge, but if you tear it, you have a chance of it not coming out. I mean, you get, you know, big blobs out here and big blobs in there, so I just cut it. Okay, are you done yet? Nope. Okay, we're tearing that guy the rest of the way. Bad guy. Didn't want it. Look, you even have a little thing coming out there still. Okay, so with it in the same position, I want to have 7 1/4. So there's 7 1/4, so that means I take off 1/2 inch on the other side. And if it's a bit smaller, then it'll be okay anyway, because it'll fit within your envelopes, and it will fit, it'll work fine with your envelopes that way. As long as it's smaller, and if it's too tall, then it won't work as well. It won't work very well. Okay, so we line that up, and I'm just going to cut that. Usually you would turn your paper around and have your ruler on top of your paper, so that if you make an accidental bad cut, you wouldn't be cutting into your papers, you'd be cutting into the waste part of it. But I'm too lazy to do that, so we just did this. You want to try to hold your X-Acto knife straight up and down when you're cutting these, so that it doesn't, because if it's sideways, then you're going to get larger papers on the bottom. You know, if it's that kind of angled, you'll get larger papers on the bottom and smaller papers on the top. Okay, so I'm going to recycle these pieces of paper here, or find some other use for them. In the meantime, I'm just going to throw them over here on my other table. Okay, so then I decide that I'm going to, because this is going to be the center. So I decide where I'm going to fold it, because these envelopes are just 5 and a quarter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a quarter inches wide. So I don't want my pages to extend beyond that, and these pages are 15 inches wide. So if I fold all of these, well, let's just fold the first one at, we'll push it in just a little bit from the edge, and then we'll just fold it there. Okay, so then this one's going to be folded there. And then I'm going to also fold this other edge so that it will be extra writing space in case they want to write on this, in case anybody wants to write on this. So that's your first page. It's going to be folded like that, and like that, and that'll be the center page. So then we had a flip out on this side. So the next one we want to flip out on the other side, so we'll just take it and we'll fold it around this one, lining up these edges as well as we can. And just making our fold right there. Scooting that, scoot, scoot, scoot. Make sure it's lined up on the edge. A nice fold. And then we'll fold this part in too. And we can always fold it the opposite direction if we decide that's how we want to fold it. But for now, we'll fold this in. So we have 2 folios. These are called folios. Each set of 2 pages is called a folio. So this is one folio, and this is one folio. Okay, and the next one we'll start from this end and see how that kind of goes with that. That's kind of nice, huh? Or if we decided we didn't want it as long, we could tear off that little piece that has the little blue on it, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it. So again, I'm lining that up to this edge and folding that so that it's snug with the other ones. And that's a shiny blue, a metallic blue, and this other blue is not a metallic blue, but they're virtually the same color, so they're going to kind of go together. Okay, again, we fold this extra part in on the other side. This just gives us a little bit of extra room, and it'll look cool. This one we want to start from this end. Get on there, right? So that you're even. Yep. Even enough. Scoot it to that edge. Fold it really well. And I'm just creasing my creases a little more. And fold this one up. Ooh, that's a pretty color. If you don't get it perfect, then you can just kind of refold these. These pieces of paper are kind of forgiving, and they would let you refold them. Most of them will. And gotta get that even. Okay, once you've got your signature folded, there's one signature. That's all we're going to have. Is we come back over here. And if you want this to be the first page you see, then you would have this next to the front section. But I like this side better. So it's going to be this direction. So we just put that in the middle of there. And then we need to punch 3 holes. Now, where do you punch your holes? Well, you should have one really kind of close to the middle. Let me find the center of this. I want to go to the center. There we go. There's the center. You should have it near the middle, but it doesn't have to be exactly in the middle. So I'm just going to punch where I think about the middle is. Put it there. And all the way through. So we've gone through the outside, which we had that glued together, the two envelopes that we had glued together. And then we have the two other envelopes with their flaps, one going this way and one going that way, so they get caught in this too. And then you go about 1 inch from the top and about 1 inch from the bottom. And if you're wondering about my punching tool, it's actually a big sharp needle that's pushed into a cork with the eye point of it in the cork. Now we have our signature put together. I'm going to just hold that so I don't have to move it. And I'm going to get my needle out here. And I'm going to go find me some thread because I did not do that previously. And I think I'm going to use some colorful thread. Let's see what we've got. It's right over here. Okay, I have a whole bag of thread. And we could use just a neutral color. Could use one that's kind of a brownish, because the outside of that's brown. I think that would look good. We'll go with that. Yeah, didn't have to look through too many of them. See, all these different threads, I just throw them all in here. And whenever I have used something out of the thread, then I take one of the labels off, because, you know, it comes with 2 labels, and that way I can tell if I have a full skein or not. Anyway, that's just me, or the way I do things. This doesn't match perfectly, but it'll be all right. Okay, we're going to make sure, and it doesn't want to pull out of there ever, does it? Look at that, it makes a mess. Okay. So we're going to, how much thread do we want? We want enough to go from the top to the bottom twice, because you have to sew, you know, down and around. And then we want enough to come over and loop around the little closure thing that we'll put there. So we'll make sure we've got enough. And what I did on the other one was to braid the thread, and I'll show you how I do that too. It's all easy. It's just time consuming, and I'm making a mess. Okay, top to bottom. So top to bottom once, top to bottom twice, and twice the amount that will go from there to there. So we'll get that. We'll get a good extra amount, because I'd rather have too much and trim off some than to have too little and have to redo it, which would be what I would do. Okay, so take the rest of my thread, put it back in a little sleeve for it, because then I can tell what kind of thread that is, because it's got the number on there. Yep, see there. And throw it back in my 3064. Throw it back in my thread container. Now I take my thread. I always use waxed thread, so I have a little gooby thing of beeswax, and you can get that in your sewing section of your hobby store or at Joann's or something like that. I don't know if are there any other fabric stores besides Joann's now? Of course, I'm sure in other countries they probably don't have a Joann's. They probably have some other fabric store that they could get their beeswax at, from which to get your beeswax. Yeah. Anywho, so we take this and we want to thread it. Now sometimes you can get the beeswax to stay in that and flatten it out and let that go right through that needle eye. And sometimes it's difficult to do that. So if it's difficult to do that, you just get yourself a little piece of paper, a little piece of thin paper, and you wrap that around the end of your thread. Oh, I can't even do that now. And then it makes it really easy to thread, because you just stick that little piece of paper through that little needle eye, and there you have it. Okay, so we're going to start on the outside, because we're going to use our excess thread as our closure. So we want to start on the outside, so we'll start in the middle on the outside. And then we'll go to the top, and we'll leave a nice long tail. Go to the top, go to the bottom, And see how that looks? And then we'll come back out the middle. And when you come back out the middle, you want to make sure you hold this tail here kind of up so that you don't go through that thread. Because if you go through that thread, then it weakens it and it could make a mess later. And we have way longer threads than we need. But since one is longer than the other, I'm going to go ahead, behave yourselves, pages. I'm going to go ahead and back that out a little bit. Oops, the other one. And make the other one longer so that they will be about the same length. See how much? Come on, come out of there, you. Anytime you're pulling threads through your papers, you should always make sure you're pulling in the direction that you're going. So these are both coming toward the middle, so I'm pulling toward this way with this one from the bottom and this way with the one from the top. Okay, you want your threads to be one on each side of the thread that's there. One on each side of the long one that went from top to bottom. And then you just do a square knot, which means you do left over right, and then right over left. But when you're doing this part, you do it twice, and that's called a surgeon's knot, and it's supposed to be stronger. It's supposed to stay better. And there you have it. I should have actually checked in here to make sure these didn't have some kind of mess where they were bumped up and stuff. So now you have a little booklet, and that's all there is to making it. Now, all the other stuff I did to it, I mean, I did a whole lot of other things to it, such as making the closure, making the braiding the thread. I'll get that started and show you how I do that. To braid the thread, what I do is to separate, you know, the floss actually has 6 strands, unless I have taken a strand out, and then they wouldn't have 6 strands. But the floss generally has 6 strands. Don't tell me I messed this one up. Okay, there are how many strands here? Come on. When you wax your thread, that keeps all your strands together. That's one reason it doesn't tangle as much. Come on, you. Quit doing that. Well, it's not going to come apart. And it looks like I may have. No, I don't think I did. I don't know. Let's see what we've got. Okay, there's three strands there. You can see 1, 2. Come on. There's 1. And there are 2 strands here, which for some reason do not want to separate. There we go. There are 3 strands there. And I think did I pull 3 strands off? Yeah, I did. So I need to take one of these strands loose. And I usually do this from the top, but we'll show you. So in this 6-strand thing, I made 2 3-strands, and I meant to make a 2 and a 4, and then make... So we'll go back to the top and do this. So let me put on my glasses so I can see this too. I'll show you what I mean. We're going to go up here, and we're going to kind of poke our needle in there and separate out 2 strands of the embroidery floss. There we go. 2 strands, and now I'm going to get it all tangled up. Quit tangling. 2 strands there, 4 strands there. So I'm going to separate this out to 2 strands also. So for each of my threads, I take them apart into 3 sets of 2 strands each. If you can get it to go that way. Come on, you. Why are you being so difficult? Okay, there we go. And you just have to be patient with it and kind of coax it to let go of itself and let go of each other. There's one, there's one. Okay, so now I have that one apart. I'm going to do the same with the other thread. And then I'm going to put together 2 strands from each thread. not 3 strands, 2. So let's do that. 2. Nope, that's 3 still. Come on. There we go. Annoying, isn't it? Okay. I'm going to put those 2 strands with those 2 strands, and we're going to put these 2 strands. Come on, baby. Talk to it always works better. Yeah. Okay, so do you know how to braid? It's easy. All you do is you have 3 sets of thread. So these 4 are going to go together and become 1. And it might be easier if you go ahead and wax those together, because then that'll kind of make them want to stick together. And then you take your next set of 4 strands, 2 from each of the ends that we had out there, and wax those, and then you just do overhand. You go 1, you braid over the top, then you braid over the top. So first you do your right hand, then you do your left hand, and I need something to hold that from scooting. Set me a bottle on there. And you just keep doing that, one after the other. And your threads at the bottom won't get tangled up if you're very careful with it. This is difficult because I'm sitting wrong to do this with it laying there like that. And you probably don't want to watch me braid this whole thing. It will take about 2 minutes. I will do a little bit more, then I'll clamp it, and we'll go ahead and do something else. Okay, I'll go ahead and just clamp that with the clothespin. It won't go anywhere anyway, but... Okay, so what I did on this other one is I cut this envelope open so that I could have a place to put a board in, so that you could use the board behind your page to make it more sturdy. Okay? So... we'll do that. So all I did here was cut this open instead of it being flat like that. Now, did I do it that way? Oh, I did do that. Okay, what I actually did, I cut this like this, and I just cut a nice little divot in it. And you can measure this if you really want it to be perfect, where you take this side and you flip it over to this side and you get that even, so that you get that side exactly like this side. See how I'm doing that? Holding that there. And then I know when to start angling up again. But if it's not perfect, it's not going to kill me. And I'm just taking off the littlest bit at the corners so that it'll be just as tall as my pages and everything. So we have here what we've cut off the bottom of the actual envelope, but the side of our page. Okay. Okay, so that will allow us to put a board in there, and I have this set of envelopes came with some cards, and these cards were, I don't know how many I used actually for that board. These cards, they were blank cards. So I'm just going to glue these together and make them into the board, this board here that I put in there. Let me see if I can see how thick that is. I think it may have been 3. Yeah, it looks like it's 3 thick. But 2 thick would probably make it, I don't know, would that be thick enough? No, probably 3. But once you glue them together, then they won't be as pliable because you'll have glued them and they won't be able to move against each other. So if I want 3, then I'll just take off this extra one here, this extra edge. Just go ahead and do that with my scissors because it doesn't really have to be perfect. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that. So that's how I did that the board for that. Just make sure that's in there evenly. Close it. And then glue the other side to the other side of it. You can write secret messages with your glue too. I usually just slurp it on there. I always think about writing secret messages, but I usually don't. So we would normally put this under a weight to make it stay flat and be really flat and stuff. And I need my corner rounder to make the corners round. Now, if your corner rounder won't work on that thick stuff, I mean, you can just do it with your scissors. It's not that big a deal. Mine barely works, and I don't know. Nope, it doesn't want to do it. So I'm just going to use my scissors, and since I've already, maybe I only did 2, it feels thicker. And it's not that tall. Look at that. And that's better too, because so I'm just going to use this and use my scissors to round it. Doesn't matter if they're absolutely perfect. And I am going to go ahead and cut this extra edge off. Why, you say? Well, because when you have it in that pocket, you don't want it to extend all the way to the spine, because if it extends all the way to the spine, it's going to make that pocket not be able to fold over the front and become the front like it should. And as I said, it doesn't really matter if it's absolutely perfect. It's going to be close enough. Okay. And this one doesn't look so good, so we'll fix it a little bit. A little roundeder than it was. You're trying to make a board that will be stiff enough that it won't bend. So you don't want it to be into the spine enough that it has to bend in order to stay there. And at this point, actually I probably should have done that before, but usually at this point, if you are wanting to do any distressing of it, which I did use distress ink around these because I just thought that looked good. Now might be a good time to get started doing that. So I just use, I like gathered twigs is my favorite. So that's what I use on everything. And I just have the little